Hello there, and thank you for joining me for this second video. Whether we want to admit it or not, racism is real. It has happened throughout all of history, and it's continuing to happen right now in this very world around us. If you have trouble understanding or admitting this to be true, then please reach out to me personally, and I would be more than happy to redirect you to other resources. However, these particular videos are made assuming that the viewers know that racism is occurring, that it's bad, they're not okay with it, and they want to know what they personally can do to positively impact their communities. The first step to fixing a problem is admitting that we have one, right? Racism is a problem, and it has occurred for far too long, and Christians themselves have even contributed to this. Without even knowing it, people who are not of color have these ingrained ideas and practices that are privileged and even racist. I'm not trying to make anybody feel judged or guilty because of this. I'm just trying to make it known that we need to admit that this is a fact and start changing it. I know that I myself am in this boat because I have countless opportunities, choices, rights, and privileges that I take for granted each and every single day. I feel like I was never really exposed to racism growing up because I went to a basically all white grade school and high school, and my college university was a bit more diverse, but I did feel more inclined to stay with the people who were of my same skin color, faith, economic status, and made similar lifestyle choices to myself because that is where I felt most safe and comfortable. I just had this mentality that if I was in my bubble, then everything was fine and I was doing what I was supposed to and nothing bad would happen, right? Well, now I know that that's so wrong. We can learn so much by interacting with people who have walked different paths than ourselves. We can gain so much more perspective and insight on thoughts and situations that we may have never even considered before. I just feel like I never really addressed racism in the past because I thought it was implied that everyone knew that it was wrong. I mean, we shouldn't be judging people because of the color of their skin or revoking any rights or privileges because of it. And I just thought that it was a thing of the past and it wasn't happening anymore because it wasn't happening in front of my very eyes. And now I see that that is just such an ignorant and foolish mentality to have. But rather than grieving or feeling guilty because of that, I'm just trying to propel myself in the world right now and take action to make up for all of that lost time. So I encourage you to do the same. It's never too late to make a positive difference in the world around you. I feel like so many people have been raised with certain beliefs, and yes, that's very good in some ways, but in other ways, they might not be so good, you know? And I feel like because people think that it was their upbringing, that it can't be changed. And I just want to make it known that if the circumstances in the world around you are changing and you're gaining more insight and perspective on ideas that you may not have known before, then it's okay to change your mentality if you think that it's better off for you and the world around you. I just don't want people to get caught in the selfish mentality of keeping things exactly as they were when they were younger and not having an open mind to anything just because it doesn't align with what they formerly knew. I just feel like that is what is keeping us in this same place right now. And I hope that we can continue to move forward together as people of faith and as a nation as a whole. And in order to do that, we need to be stepping outside of our comfort zones. And that is especially challenging as people of faith because it can be awkward to talk about racism and it can be awkward to talk about your faith. So when you combine the two, it's just like a big pile of awkward and you almost just don't even want to do it. But now is the time to be doing that more than ever. We need to be taking everything that we have learned throughout our entire lives and putting it into action. It is time to put our faiths to the test. And I know that it can be scary to approach the situation in general, let alone while bringing faith into it all. But I promise that throughout this mini series, we're going to be exploring the most effective ways to be doing that right now. So, for today's activity, we're going to be trying to put ourselves in the shoes of somebody who is experiencing these racial injustices right now. I know that I in no way can fully do that or understand the thoughts and feelings and situations that happen to them every day, but this is just my way of trying to do so and reminding myself that the time to take action is now. It is so easy to think, oh yeah, I'll get back to her next week. Oh, I'll share that tomorrow because I already shared something today, blah, 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 and coming up with all of these excuses, but we're done making excuses. It is not an option to be standing by the wayside with this situation right now. So it's time to take action. And so let's just go ahead and do that by trying to gain a better understanding of the situation as a whole. I know that I said earlier that I wouldn't be elaborating on all of the history and issues regarding racism in general, but I do feel that this particular activity is appropriate because it does get us in the proper mindset to be receiving all of these resources and recommendations. So I ask you to just approach this activity with an open mind and heart, even though it might be weird on this digital platform. Just try to make the most of it, and I hope that you find it beneficial. Participate in it as fully as possible, and it is just a wake-up call or an eye-opener in some sort of way. So with that, please do me a favor and close your eyes. And take a few deep breaths to get yourself into a calmer state of mind. If you are a person of color, please know how loved, worthy, and cherished you are in the eyes of the Lord and His followers. Please imagine yourself, a family member, or perhaps a stranger during this activity, whatever makes you feel most at ease. If you are not a person of color, but know someone who is, please take a moment to reflect on this content with them in mind. If you are not a person of color and do not directly know any persons of color, please take the time to reflect on these events occurring to a loved one of a differing race. Think of your loved one walking outside. Imagine them having to look all around them to ensure that they are alone, safe, and there is no suspicious activity nearby. Now imagine that loved one walking to a nearby grocery store, constantly looking over their shoulder. They not once look down at their phone during the walk because they know they need to have their guard up and be aware of any potential warning signs of danger. They don't want to wear headphones during this walk because they want to hear if someone is approaching them from behind. They have to focus on keeping their shoulders back and their eyes up and forward to maintain a sense of confidence, even though that is the exact opposite of how they are feeling. They aren't able to let their mind wander, as most of us do on walks, because they know they need to stay alert of their surroundings. They take a breath of relief as they finally walk into the doors of the grocery store, because that crisis was averted. They grab a few items that they need, still looking over their shoulder and staying alert. They proceed to the checkout line, nervously tapping their foot because of the white cashier and white couple in line in front of them. They have had a long week and especially aren't in the mood for any conflict or trouble. The cashier and couple carry on small talk as the cashier rings up the items. The cashier asks the couple what their plans are for the weekend and if they have ever tried the pasta sauce they were purchasing. The cashier shares that it is their family's favorite and they plan to cook a delicious pasta with it that evening. Your loved one sees the white couple hand the white cashier a check, and the cashier immediately gives them a receipt in return. The cashier hands the couple their bags and says, "Have a great day," but immediately loses that friendliness when they see that your loved one is next in line. The cashier scans the items with no smile on their face, passion in their voice, or light in their eyes. All of the personality that the cashier had just shown a few minutes ago suddenly disappeared. Your loved one hands the cashier their check for the purchase, and the cashier says, "ID, please," with a straight face and no eye contact. Your loved one seems dumbfounded for a mere second because the cashier hadn't requested IDs from the last customers. They immediately reach into their wallet as quickly as possible, feeling the intense presence and impatience of the cashier. A light sweat begins to go down their back because they have been around people like this cashier before. Your loved one hands the cashier their ID, and the cashier takes a few seconds to thoroughly look at it. The cashier emotionlessly returns the ID, places the receipt in the bag, points to the bags, and begins ringing up the next customer's purchase. No eye contact, smile, bags handed to them, or "have a good day" that the last customers received. It was clear that was the end of the interaction, so your loved one hurriedly grabs the bags and exits the store. They juggle the bags with their sweaty palms and have that same fearful walk home. You may now open your eyes. That wasn't very enjoyable, was it? If you're anything like me, then you're probably feeling very uncomfortable, disappointed, shocked, frustrated, confused, probably a lot of other mixed emotions as well. That is what racism looks, sounds, and feels like, and that is what's happening in the world around us. The scary part is that's only a tiny, mere little glimpse of what's happening right now. That is why the time to take action is now. Some of us have the privilege of just turning off this video or turning off the news or exiting out of an app the second that the reality of this situation starts to set in. But others of us don't have that same privilege. We can't just turn off the color of our skin whenever it's most convenient for us, and we shouldn't feel like we have to or want to. And that is why we need to bring Christ's love into everything that we say and do, especially right now. He wants us to be his hands and feet in this world, and he wants to use us as his vessels so that we can promote love, equality, and justice and everything that we say and do, just like he always did. And so this mini series is made so that we can just kind of take all of this step by step, because I know that there is so much that can be said and done right now, and it's just really overwhelming to figure out where to even begin with that. So don't worry, we're just kind of ease into this, but I hope that this encourages you and that you feel more motivated than you did prior to watching this to take a stand, whether that's in a conversation you have or something you post. Let's close our eyes one last time and take a moment of silence for those who have experienced racial injustices or even lost their lives because of them. You may now open your eyes. Thank you for doing that with me. That is a great first step for anybody who is just now beginning to take action with this situation, because you're acknowledging that it's real and that it's time to do something about it. So let's continue keeping our minds and hearts focused on advocating for this population, even when it may stop being the main focus on the news or bombarding our social media platforms. That's actually direct correlation with our faith, because so many people think that being a religious person is just going to church on Sundays, but then doing absolutely whatever you want every single other day of the week. And that is just such a poor interpretation of what we're being called to do. We are called to live out Christ's actions, words, and teachings in everything that we say and do every single day of the week. And advocating for people of color does go by his teachings, because he calls us to love our neighbors as we love him. And in order to love our neighbors, we must be educated on their circumstances and defend them when they are in need. That is why all lives can't matter until Black lives matter first. Let's use the compassion and love that is modeled by Christ for us to show our Black and brown brothers and sisters that we are here for them, we support, love, encourage, and will do anything we can to protect them. And the rest of this video series is made to guide us on exactly how we can go about doing that. So I hope that you continue on to the next video. Thank you and God bless.